All right, today we are diving into a concept that honestly feels like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's happening right now. It's called vibe coding, and it could completely change how we build, well, everything. I mean, just think about this for a second. What if instead of spending years learning all these super complex programming languages, you could build a real working app just by telling a computer what you want, but just describing the idea? That's the wild future we're jumping into today. And the key to unlocking this future has a name: vibe coding. It's a whole new way of thinking about how software gets made. So what in the world is it? Well, basically, vibe coding is where you use plain English to tell an AI what you want to build. Your vibe is just your goal, the feeling you're going for, the big picture idea. You don't have to get bogged down in all the tiny technical details. And when you put it side by side with how we do things now, wow, the difference is just night and day. Traditional coding, it's all about strict rules, syntax, and tons of manual, often tedious work that can take months. Vibe coding, it throws all that out the window. It's about natural language, AI doing the heavy lifting, and shrinking that timeline from months down to minutes. The whole point here is to completely flip the script on what a developer is. We're moving away from a world where you're just a writer of code and into one where you're an architect of ideas. Suddenly, the most important skill isn't knowing the perfect syntax, but having a great idea and knowing how to describe it. Okay, but how does this actually work in practice? Well, it's all built around this really cool process called the AI conversation loop. It's really just a back-and-forth conversation. First, you just say what you want. The AI then scans everything in your project so it understands the context. Then, boom, it generates all the code. And here's the best part. If something breaks, you just tell the AI, hey, this broke, and it fixes itself. That's actually called the Karpathy move, named after the AI researcher Andrei Karpathy. And once it works, you can push it live. And here's a perfect example of what that first step looks like. You're not writing a line of code, you're just giving a simple human instruction. A request like this is literally all the AI needs to get started building a useful tool. It's kind of mind-blowing. Now, obviously, this isn't magic. There's some serious tech making this all possible. You've got these huge AI models that can understand what you're saying. You've got AI agents inside your coding environment that can actually take action. And you've got tools that can spin up entire development environments right in your browser. It's a whole symphony of technologies working together. So when you put all this together, the implications are just huge. We're not just talking about a cool new tool for coders. We are looking at the beginning of a whole new software revolution. Think about it. When the barrier to create something drops this low, what happens? You get an absolute explosion of creativity. We're probably going to see a flood of super specific, hyper-personalized apps for every little niche you can imagine. Things that would have never been worth building before. But here's the real twist. This explosion of software isn't necessarily going to be built by the people we think of as developers today. A completely new type of creator is about to step into the spotlight. So, who are they? Who exactly gets to build the future when making an app is as easy as describing an idea? Well, pretty much everyone. Founders can now whip up a prototype, an MVP, over a weekend without hiring a huge team. Inside big companies, the marketing or sales team can just build their own tools instead of waiting months for IT. And for students, this is a game changer. They get to focus on the fun part, logic and problem solving, not just memorizing endless rules. So what about the professional engineers? Are they out of a job? No way. Their job just gets way more interesting. They get to stop writing all the boring, repetitive code and instead focus on the really hard, really important problems, like system architecture, making things run incredibly fast, and keeping everything secure. But, with any technology this powerful, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We have to be really honest about the hidden risks that come along for the ride. The first big one is security. Just because an AI writes the code doesn't mean it's safe. It can accidentally create subtle little holes and vulnerabilities that could be a huge problem if they're not caught by a human expert or, ironically, another AI. And then you've got what's called the black box problem. Imagine an AI builds this giant, incredibly complex system. It works perfectly, but no single human being actually understands how it works. So what happens when something deep inside it breaks? It becomes almost impossible to fix. And there are other traps too. The AI can hallucinate code that looks right but does the math all wrong. If we rely on it too much, we could lose those fundamental engineering skills. And that old problem of technical debt, taking shortcuts now that you'll have to pay for later, it doesn't go away. It just changes. The new challenge is managing and cleaning up the code the AI builds over time. Which really brings us to one final huge question. In a future where the AI is handling all the code, all the logic, all the deployment, what's left for us? When the AI does the writing, what is our unique human contribution? That's the question we're all going to have to answer, and probably a lot sooner than we think.